Hey guys, Zyandrix here, and welcome to my very first Photoshop tutorial on the channel. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to make this image that can go on your profile if you want it to, or it can just be an interesting photo to show with your friends, or it can just be for practice. So to start off, we're going to go File, New, set the dimensions to 1000 by 1000, not 2000, that's a little too high. I'm just going to name this tutorial number 1, and make sure your color mode is set to RGB color and your background is set to transparent. Select OK. Now I'm going to start off by creating the background, so select the paint bucket tool, change your color to not completely black but not completely white. It can be white or black if you want. I'm going to be using black because that's what I think looks the best. Again, not completely black, you want to make sure it's slightly above that. And now we have a background. Create a new layer, make sure it's on top, create text, and I'm going to change this to impact just because that's what I think is good. I'll just call this name. I will adjust some settings as well as the color and the spacing between them just so that it's a little nicer. There we go. And I think that should be good for our text. Now you can scale it up by holding Shift and Alt. That will scale it up equally across all axes, and just drag it into the center of your text. Now that's a very, very basic picture, but there's a very simple and easy way you can add more texture. Create a new layer, set it on top, click File, Place, and you can find these grunge textures in the description. I'll leave a download link to both of them. I'm going to be using this one. It's a little bit more low res, but I like the contrast in it. And when you've done that, make sure it's on the top layer and set this type to color dodge. And that just adds some nice easy texture. And I might actually do it below so the name is more stand out-ish, and we can add a new grunge texture later to the name. And also make sure the name is the color you want it to be, so I'm going to be using this nice orange, and remember, we'll be adding a grunge, and that actually does add some brightness to it, so just keep that in mind. And now that you have that, if you want to add a logo of any kind or a picture in the background, just create a layer under that initial grunge, click File, Place, bring in your image. For example, if I wanted the Overwatch logo, and if you just drag it out, you can see it's already adapted. You may want to lower the opacity of that just so it's a little less visible. And you can already see that that actually looks like it's engraved into it. So you can make this your profile picture, but I'm just going to add some text here. And I'm going to actually add another layer of grunge. I'm going to use the different one just so it has some different resemblance, so it doesn't quite blend in, as you can see the text easier if it's like this. Just that size should work, and I'll set this to color dodge, and then hit Control Alt G to create a clipping mask, which basically engraves it over the text so that it's just on the text no matter how much you move it. That's all it is. And yeah, so that looks pretty good already, but we can do something a little more to it by adding a shadow. Or actually, what I'm going to do is make it 3D. So duplicate this layer by right-clicking and select Duplicate Layer. I'm just going to call it Name Copy, just because that's what's easier for me. Make sure your grunge is still attached to the bottom one. Actually, no, it should be attached to the top one. And then I'm going to drag this over, this name from the bottom over, just very slightly. And that will give it a nice 3D look. And I want the grunge, there should also be a slight grunge on the edge of the text. So I'm going to place another grunge texture. We'll just use the same one for simplicity. And set this to color dodge. No, that's color burn, color dodge, and Control Alt G to wrap it. I'm going to change the opacity of these, which will make it less bright, less grunge, basically less rough. And I'm also going to change the text color of this so it's a little more, it stands out a little more. That looks good where it is. And I'm gonna adjust the grunge just a little more so you can see it just a little better. And that should be good for that. Now you have your name. You don't have to use a logo. I don't think it looks any nicer unless, I mean, you can, but just use whatever you think works best for you. And yeah, so just to add a little bit more depth to this, we're gonna select the edge for the text, you know, this one here. Double click the side of it, the right side of the layer. Actually, make sure that's checked. The right side of the layer, go to inner shadow and change the angle to the angle of your edge here. So for example, mine is straight this way. Well, it's actually straight that way, so you're going to want to set the angle straight that way. And change the size of this just a bit, as well as the distance, because you want it to, you know, work nicely here. Change the distance a bit, adjust the size a bit, and adjust the opacity a bit, and there you go. Now you have a nice 3D name with some grunge in the background. Of course, you can add that logo in, or whatever image you think looks good. If you did, of course, enjoy this tutorial, be sure to let me know in the comments, leave a like, subscribe down below. And actually, one more thing, if you want to add even more nice effects to it, like an outside edge, select the layer at the bottom here, double click it, go stroke, set this to inside, change the scale just a little bit to maybe 10, looks good. Change the color to whatever color your text is. And there you go. Now you have your name or or letter, whatever you want it to be, as well as an image if you prefer. And that's pretty much the tutorial. If you guys did enjoy, be sure to leave a like. Let me know in the comments. Let me know if you had any issues, and I will sort them out for you. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.